Panel discussion is Shri, Jitendra, Jadhav, and chairs Dr. Sanat Mishra, Dr. R. K. Tyagi, Dr. S. K. Jha, and Dr. Jaideep Joshi. I request all the panelists to please kindly occupy their seats of the panel discussion. Shri Jitendra Jadhav. A big round of applause to all the panelists.
Long session, and today also half-day session was very fruitful. So let's start with the discussion with the session chairs. The first session was on the ground-based systems, which was presented by Tata, L&T and AVNL Audi. So I would like to ask session chair Mr. Sanat Mishra that the problems which people have told are more or less similar in nature. One of the most important things everybody mentioned is the higher content of imported components causing upper hand by a supplier, and then they don't have any leeway for negotiations and their deliveries are getting affected. The second thing which was more of similar from all the things was the indigenized material which is getting from the sources are having inconsistency in quality, and there is a lot of rejection in it. And also somebody told that there is a requirement of many technologies to be developed. I don't want to drive into each technologies, but today what they are told is war scenarios has been changed, and there is a lot of low cost EW systems are mandatory to the tanks. So what are your views on to this, Mr. Mishraji?
I also, there's somebody, hello, there's a summary of the presentation by Mr. Dhanuka. I think one of the points that all three of them made, Sri Dhanuka and Sri Dwivedi and Sri Aeronautical, that we need to develop platforms indigenously, because India cannot afford anymore to depend on external sources to provide those. India is actually, this is my own take, of course. India is already a superpower, an economic superpower, and very likely the third economic superpower in about 5 years' time or whatever. The fact is that we are today covered by land by countries which are not exactly very friendly to us. I can mention Pakistan to start with, China, now Sri Lanka with the political turmoil. Then we have Nepal, we have now Bangladesh. So India is in a very interesting situation. That's my take. That's not one of the speakers didn't say that. But I like to dovetail what they said into this particular situation we are entering. But therefore, there is a very strong need that we should not only be militarily very strong, but that our defense capability, manufacturing capability, needs to undergo dramatic, upward strengthening and very comprehensive strengthening in the next 5 to 10 years. We really need to strengthen us, not only in terms of the economic prosperity, but in terms of our defense capability. So these three presentations, all three of them, I think they actually talked about the same thing, that we need to develop indigenous capability. We need to develop our own tanks, both main battle tanks and light tanks. But this is not going to happen unless there is a partnership, there is a collaboration between the customer, which is the government, the army, and the manufacturers, but also the LLT, Arun Ramchandani emphasized that supply chain management will become very important. Vendors have to be developed. Thousands of vendors, thousands, 10,000 vendors have to be developed. We need to build subsystems, very different subsystems. Much of that would be advanced state-of-art subsystems, which means use of advanced electronics, machine learning, techniques like that, which are currently state-of-art in other parts of the world in terms of military hardware. We need to manufacture drones in much larger numbers, and we need to have anti-drone capability in our tanks. So these are some of the points that came up. But I think what appears to be really the challenge is to make it easy for public-private partnership, because we need to collaborate. Like DRDL is there, of course, a very strong, as a tremendous amount of intellectual capacity and also engineering capacity. But we need also partnership with the private enterprises. So public-private partnership seems to be one of the main recommendations by all of them. There are individual recommendations also, but I think how to drive that, the public-private partnership, is a key issue, because that needs mechanisms, that needs government support. We cannot have a manufacturer and a customer and the supply chain, the component supply chain sitting in their own ivory towers. They need to come together. So these are some of the points that came up, and the third speaker, Ramchandani, talked about development of light tanks, and because of the Rajasthan desert and sandy dunes, we need to have light tanks which will be not only fuel efficient but also with higher mobility, but they must also integrate the latest technologies. In the past, we have been dependent on Russian tanks. One of the presentations made by Mr. Dwivedi talked about over-dependence, or what do you call it, on the Russian military hardware. Maintaining them now is very difficult. So there is a need that we develop our own tanks. This is I think, a very pertinent point. Another point that came up from all the three presentations, we need to have our own standards. In the past, we have manufactured to standards, particularly steel plates, to the standards given by the Russians. But that has to change in order to achieve better quality, but also in order to have our own standards, so that we can manufacture to our own standards. We don't need to have a certification to those standards, which are basically Russian standards. So this is another point that came up. So I'm summing up for all three speakers, not individually, but each one of them made very good points. And finally, I would like to say that there are good signs. We have the example of a light tank prototype having been made in a record under 2 years. So the other thing is some of the presentations made by DRDL in the other side, additive manufacturing attended. We have progressed also in terms of our capacity or capability to independently carry out what I call development work. 30 years back, 40 years back, we were quite dependent on external sources to help us guide to develop R&D capabilities. Today I feel we are in a position where we can develop our capabilities quite independently. I think that's the silver lining in the clouds or in the sky. So is there any other specific question?
Thank you, Vishal. We will take one question to the audience. There are some private people. So today government are having a policy of public-private partnership. So yeah, hello. So I will just ask few of the private top brass is here. What type of improvements you visualize in the current government public-private partnership to get a flexibility to work together?
Okay. Having been in ADA earlier and seeing all the aircraft programs, I am privy to the technology which has been developed in-house.
Mr. Patel, Mr. Patil is busy in a conversation. Yeah. Nice finish.
So,
So Mr. Patil, we would request you to.
Let him complete what he wants to say. That is asked.
Who is? Oh, I'm sorry.
we have a lot of technology which is already developed within the nation, but visibility of that to the private partners is less and or not made readily available. Take a case in point, we already developed for the UAV's automatic takeoff and landing, and similar thing is being developed in HAL as well as in ADA. So, visibility of technologies, what we have developed amongst our various research organizations, if you can have a compendium of it and make it available to the private industry, it will assist in the growth. That is one. Second part is in the DCPP projects, development cum production. Although the name is development cum production, at the development stage, involving the manpower to teach them the nuances of design and development and passing of information is still wanted. If it is done, then the research which has gone up to a particular level, the civil industry can take it up and move it to the next level also. So these are the two inputs from.
Thank you.
I am out of queue. I am jumping in. I know I am an ex-PSU and present government. First of all, I have been handling at least almost about near 200 industry partners, and we have implemented few of the DCPP programs in a smaller way where we have asked for manpower to join, and we are going in a DCPP partnership or lead system integration in the new program in a big way. But I am very vocal. Please don't feel. The problem what is happening is DCPP, to enter into the DCPP, we are bidding whatever we want and we are just picking up the order. I am not pointing out anybody. Many of the industry partners who have bid and they have won, they are sitting here. And in the bargain, we are talking of 5 trillion economy and all. We are not going to go the way DCPP partners are bidding. The entire ecosystem, our own industry partners are killing it. The entire ecosystem is being killed by our own people. In the bargain, what happens is we are not in a position to grow forward. Instead of that, we are going back. Now the question of coming to the opening of the technology, what is being developed as a development cum production partners. It is irony to say we are not putting good manpower who can understand the subject and who can take the subject, who can assimilate the knowledge what we want to partner with. It's a successful model, but it is unfortunately it has failed miserably. Our own people who are working as contractual staff have been picked up by all the DCP partners who have taken, and we know if he is into the contractual thing because he is not cleared that mark of gate score and he has not cleared the mark of the end test level and threshold level, he has come into the contractual appointment. With those contractual people, the DCPP partner, the so-called partner who has taken the order, he is running, and what sort of knowledge gain you will have it unless you get good engineers who are may not be IITs or NITs. I don't expect them to come and join a smaller companies or this thing. They have separate startup and those type of minds. You should have a good, at least A grade or minimum B grade engineering college students who can understand. There was in 4th pay commission, many of the seniors may remember, Krishnamurthy was asked, the then PHL MD, what do you rate about the pay commission? He said, if we give peanuts, we get monkeys. That's the true in this thing. In the bargain, what we are doing is we are killing the manufacturing capability by ourselves, thereby again importing the technology. This is what is happening last few years. I think Patil sir can comment on this thing.
All of us in industry know what is called cost, and we say cost is a reality. And when I was part of the DRDL review committee, one serious concern that came right across is actually this, and our entire process of selection essentially points to the fact that we do not value the background IP or the background maturity of a partner. And this is precisely where what Dr. Mishra talked about, the lifetime success. When you have enormous amount of background, you can create impossible things in that 18-month, 19-month period. Otherwise, 18 months somebody will keep learning. And our system has to have absolute clarity in terms of how to select people who actually can accelerate. As a nation, if I see, I'll just blabber out some statistics. We have a scenario of, we say that we are going more and more Atmanirbhar. 75% we want to buy from within country. We don't count the import content in that 75%. The point which in these slides, or the summing up actually shows, is the foreign sources are today deciding how you will deliver. So even if I am ready to deliver, let's say 25 tanks in a month, I won't get 25 engines and 25 transmissions, and the guy who is delivering those will decide. Now this is essentially where, again, DRDO took the initiative that we want to make the engineer, we want to make the transmission engineer. Now are we selecting every time the right part? I think the first fundamental question always that need to be asked, and by policy, what are our gates? Our gates are 6 inch. Any child will walk in. If our gates are tall and strong, we will have something which can be created in an amazing kind of time, and we truly can then become the world leader. We have aspiration to be a world leader, a Vishnu Guru. We keep talking, सबको सिखाएंगे. लेकिन सबको सिखाने के लिए हमारा खुद का घर ठीक नहीं है. So most of our processes actually need that kind of improvement and modification. And as I see today, we are actually being shown a thumb by some of those monopolized suppliers, and that monopolized supplier, only one way of doing. Start in the country, support that partner, back him up, take him to a kind of a mass scale. Every time RFP and every time a tender, I mean, it's not something which is right, because every day you can't change your partner. हम लोग शादी करते हैं, एक बार करते हैं. We are Indians. एक ही बार होती है. That's not the model which one can actually create long-term capability and the speed at which we can create it. In terms of ability, I don't think any one of us in industry or in academia, or for that matter in R&D establishments, or as a whole national setup, we have those limitations. We actually can excel, do better. And in my own long career, the thousands of examples I can start quoting, where a foreigner, I'm talking about 70s and 80s, if a foreigner worked with Larsen Toubro, he knew that next time Larsen Toubro will never go to him. Because we would start doing it ourselves. Ek baar, if that guy worked. And as a result, having set up a corporate R&D, 50 crore annual turnover, we had a R&D which was spending those days 2 crore when the company was 50 crore. Now why L&D differentiated is because we built capabilities in-house. Nobody came to us second time, and we never needed anybody second time. Now if you build capabilities, obviously we can do things far faster, far better. And we only need processes which actually are merit driven, actually value your background in terms of when you are coming in. And obviously more and more insistence on the modern methods. You become a supplier to anybody in the world. Today he asks you, what is your environmental policy? What is it to do with what you are manufacturing? But people overseas are actually asking whether you are going to be doing it in a more eco-friendly kind of a manner, and people are valuing that. Those who don't do it don't even qualify. While on our side, none of those, why talk about environment? The basic capability do you have or not, we don't value. And that's essentially where we go wrong. We take time and we get all the brickbats. Because everybody here in this country, and especially with the free media can speak whatever they want to, but they keep doing that.
Again, I'll come back on because this is basically defense manufacturing. I'm taking up rather than materials in a different fashion. The processes has to be there and RFP should not be repeated. Mokashi, Vivek can comment. He is trying to enter in one of the systems. In MRSAM Navy, we established a chain of vendors, and the same legacy system we have given it to MRSAM Air Force and MRSAM Army. The systems and processes are there. If somebody has to enter, see the system, once we have developed 2 or 3 vendors for a system, they can be a sustainable model rather than adding vendors after vendors. Unless that guy becomes very this thing and starts quoting higher prices and all those things. See, in the bargain, I don't want to kill industry. See, if industry is there, I am there. It is a partnership. It's not that I am an order giver, you are an executor. That model is not there in many of the minds, many of our mind. Maybe 1 odd cases, what we were discussing, that type of thing may be there. It is you win, I win. It is a mutual win-win situation. It is not that I only should survive, I only should get Padma Shri or a scientist of the year. In the bargain, I kill the industry. But industry also should come up to our expectation and work. You are a separate company, maybe 1 or 2 maybe separate companies. How many of us are investing on the CSR into the R&D budget? Why only many people, yesterday's Vice Srinivas Rao session, everybody was asking, me industry, government support should be there. Why not? You have to spend 2% on the CSR funds, 1,000 crores, 10,000 crores, 1 lakh crores order, 2% is 200 crores. 2,000 crores. Why don't you invest in R&D? Any technological support required, government is ready to fund, government is ready to come forward to take it, the delta value addition. Suppose you are at some X plus delta X, we are ready to do it without. And DCPP model is same, exactly the same what we have worked out. And regarding the facilities, yesterday somebody was talking about the facilities and our facilities are all open. Recently, same Adani, they wanted to do the static firing of their thing. We are doing. Many people come for the vibration testing, some coating testing, all those things we are giving it. Sometimes we are giving it free of cost because if it is a small thing, or else there is a mechanism where we are valuing our things and giving it the services to be offered to the vendors. But it is a mutual thing, public sector is there, DRDO or any other strategic departments and the private sector. See, when we are interacting, we should interact at a level playing field. If I am at some X level and the person's understanding is not there, things will not mature. So that my request to the private industry partners as well as public sectors, let them invest on some part of R&D, let them get engineering students of a greater caliber so that they can understand the R&D mind of thing. Many public sectors, and again, don't feel bad, they are getting into the production model and the turnover model. Let us not work on turnover model. It should be the TRL level increase, mind of the engineers TRL level. I am not talking about the technology readiness level for the equipment. I am technologist readiness level for the individual I am talking. See, many of the industry, the people they are operating at TRL level 2 or 3, mindset of the people. Whatever you call that, human index or what. If some scientific organization is operating at a mindset index of 7 or 8, I don't say that we are also at 10 out of 10. We are also lacking. It's a continuous process. So we should upgrade our knowledge. Together we can go. And academia talking something, they are at, basically academia to be operating between TRL level 1 and 4. DRDO or a strategic department should operate from TRL level 4 to 7 or 7.5. I am bringing in. And PSUs and production agencies, the production agency should operate from 7 to 10, so that this business model will be a successful business model. We are talking of 5 trillion economy, it doesn't happen. Unless this model is worked out, things will not take to shape. So all of us, there should be a INE also a request. I am part of INE, I am talking now. So we will make a paper where all of you contribute, give your thought process so that it can be a governmental model and we can go to the government to get a policy implemented in this thing. See, rather than talking and forgetting and going is not that. We all should try what is your problems, give us a 2-page note, authentic note, and we also work out on that one. I will also talk to the PSUs. we can come out with a policy document, go to the government, get it cleared, and so that it becomes a Bible. Thank you.
We'll take next to the airborne systems. So that was a very fantastic session chaired by Dr. Tyagi, and two, three things emerge from the presenters is the same thing like dependency, what has come for the armored vehicle, same thing has been repeated at airborne system people also. But one important facet has come that civil and military certification, there should be a commonality which will reduce the efforts, and there should be a cross-functional thing for making civil products available to the military and vice versa. So that is one good point has come. And the second thing has come is the simplification of certification process. So in the civil and internationally, there is a designated engineering representatives and the special representatives, which allows for the designers to certify the product. And why can't we implement such a thing today in the country for the military as well as civil certification? So I will tell Dr. Tyagi, who is one well-renowned personality in airborne systems, and I will take his views and then come to the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Session Chairman. Joshiji, compliments. I am mesmerized the way you spoke from the heart. So we had a session yesterday on aerospace defense systems, and there were three presenters. Transcending fixed-wing aircraft segment by Jay Krishnan, who is CEO of Bengaluru Complex Engineering. Then Civil Aeronautics, Vineet Kumar from MEL, who also spoke about his efforts on the RDL 90-seater. And also the helicopters presentation that was made by Mr. Rajendran of HAL. All the three basically were convinced that as far as the ecosystem is concerned today in defense manufacturing, thanks to the efforts of last 10 years, the ecosystem is now good. In a sense that there are 140 Indian agencies in design and development, 60 Indian manufacturing companies, 82 Indian and overseas rotable suppliers were established today, 200 Indian companies in tooling, GSE, GHE and other supplies, and more than 240 major systems are now available within the country as far as aeronautics is concerned. The panel also was confident that as far as the technologies related to the composites, mission computers, DFCC, radar technologies, SDRs, RWRs and digital map generators are concerned, the country has sufficient capabilities. However, there are technology gaps, and basically number one is the raw materials for the airframes, where we need to have a good policy dispensation directions. Second major gap is on the power plants and engines. Like we know what is happening on G404 supplies and G414 transfers, and also like in the civil side, we are seeing that out of 750 aircrafts today, 150 are on the ground, only developing engine-related issues. So that is one major technological challenge for us. Third was ejection seats, where we are hopelessly dependent on only one foreign OEM. Avionics, yes, we need to develop more in the area of integrated computer controls, flight controls, laser identification and jamming, helmet-mounted display systems. And finally, what the panel was of the opinion that we for last now 7-8 years are talking about Industry 4.0, but not really much has been implemented as far as aerospace industry is concerned. And now people have started talking about Industry 5.0. So basically, a conscious effort is required so that enough investments into the industry 4.0 and 5.0 come up. So basically the challenge towards, as far as the aerospace is concerned, the defense, if we look at the projects, LCA Mark 1A, Mark 2, C295, MRF, AMCA, MROs, RTAs, STT-40, Su-30 upgrade, and in helicopters, Prachand, UHM, IM, RF, etc. What today we are talking is an investment of big sales of more than 5 lakh crore in next 8 years, which is a tremendous challenge and a very good opportunity as well. So basically, the panel and the audience, when we discussed, we were unanimous on 9 recommendations. One, Jadhav sir had already covered, that certification, simplification, and CMI certifications. And also a wider scope where the industry deputes the inspectors for certifications for certain period, so that the load on DGAQA and similar can be reduced. Then many of the youngsters, they also felt that there is a lot of duplication in the research efforts in various organizations. So they were of the opinion that let us have a national repository of the technology research. If I am looking for a particular development, I go to that repository and ask whether this research has been done anywhere in the country. If we can do it, youngsters say that a lot of time they can save in going around. The third point which emerged was that in any case, as far as we in aerospace are concerned, we depend very heavily on ISRO and DRDL. There is a need to strengthen both these organizations, especially DRDO. What we feel is that we should be having more autonomy, continuity of the leadership, and also they should be allowed to fill up the crucial vacancies. See, DRDO will function if people are in position, but if we don't allow them to recruit any people, like today there is a gap of some 11,000 positions in DRDO, that really will not be correct. And of course, they need a lot of funding for the R&D activities. Then point 4 and 5, that it is a time we identify some critical technologies and specifically start developing the skill set for these high technologies. It's an approach which is to be taken in a structured way. And so the sixth observation was that civil aircraft side. If you are talking of India to be a Viksit Bharat, and we say this is Amrit Kal, then as far as RTA is concerned, it is a Kartavya Kal. Talk of 2047 when people like us will not be there. Up to that time, India will be acquiring some 2,300 aircrafts, passenger aircrafts. That means for next 20 years, every week 2 civil passenger aircrafts will be inducted in India by foreign PMs. $500 billion opportunity. And if we feel that we are confident in the defense arena, it is a time that the organizations like ADA, NAL and HAL come together and plead with the government that look here, you are talking of investment expenditure of $500 billion. If you give us $7 billion US, in 7 years, we can give you a workable RTA of 70 seats. It will be unfair to expect the private industry to invest in R&D in this project. They will not do it. Profit is definitely one of their prime objectives. So DMT phase should be done by the government, and then they can be invited as a development partners. This is also a time when I and AE can reaffirm that long back Dr. Kalam had told that we need to have an Aeronautical Commission in India. So is it a time to revitalize that thought and approach the government? And sir, last 2 points is 2 aspects. Number 1, 24-25 we have a budget allocation of 6.21 lakh crore, and 54% of that goes into the salaries and pensions of the defense forces. There is hardly any budget available when we look at the ambitious plans for next 8 years. So it is a time when we need more resources, and we also know that government will not be able, given the present commitments in the social arena. So what we plead is creation of an organization on the line of like when railways was expanding, then Indian Railway Finance Corporation was incorporated. Similarly, when power sector, the requirement came, then Power Finance Corporation and Rural Electrification Corporation were formed. That way, will government like to consider now formation of Indian Defence Finance Corporation, a corporation which will have cheaper bonds, and then they will be available to the private vendors as well as the government sector, so that the funding will be available. So this can be one recommendation. And the ninth one, we have seen, of course, private sector may not be suffering with this and all, but public sector tenders, re-tenders, L1, L2s. And we are seeing that people are not afraid to take courageous decisions. Mistake management sometimes is very poor. And if we are really like Mishra sir told, we have significant challenges for the country, adverse and unstable neighbors. And if we have to really deliver the trust and speed is important. So what we feel is that if we could identify a respective group of 4 people who will be the ultimate in the country as far as the technology and system acquisition is concerned, these 4 respective people, they will be beyond judicial systems, political debates and investigating agencies, and they will be the ultimate reference system for the defense development in the country. Whatever they say will be final. If we could identify that kind of scientific leadership, we are sure that whatever we are thinking, we will be able to deliver it with fast, with speed and with trust. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Great recommendations. I think we can. Private want to say about the airport systems? Okay. So we'll move on to.
I have completed their comments, but Mishra ji is.
No comments. I just want to give an input. You talked about civil defense aircraft. Right? I'm sorry, not civil defense. Civilian aircraft. So for last I think almost 10 years now, INE has been trying to pilot this to the government corridors. I mean, INE has been in partnership or collaboration with HAL, with NA, National Aerospace Laboratory, with many other experts. We have gone through the power corridors of power several times. I mean, I remember having met the Minister of Civil Aviation and as the President of INE, and then it went to Cabinet also. But somehow it's not happening. I mean, one doesn't know. But I think INE, in partnership with NL, National Aerospace Laboratory, HL, some very eminent experts like Kota Harinaran Rao and Dr. Goel, Dr. Suresh, you name them. We have been through to the government time and again. But I think, one can only assume that as a policy matter, the government is not favoring this. That's all I can conclude. I think you have been also involved in that, sir.
I could just add to it.
I want to respond to Takeji's one point on the Defense Finance Commission. Corporation, sorry, not commission, corporation. The way the markets are behaving on the pumping money into the stocks and the dizzying multiples at which a whole lot of defense companies are being valued, people are prepared to today pay 20 times of revenue for buying a share of that company, which is unprecedented, unthinkable anywhere in the world. Now, money is available. I think the great point that he has made is money is available. We don't know how to channelize that money. And if that money has to be channelized, top priority, first an aircraft engine.
Yes, sir.
Development on aircraft engine, multiple prototyping, testing phase out, basic development. Today, if one estimates, I don't think it is anything beyond $1.5 billion. Put in a great team, 200 to 500 people, lock them into one place, give them all kind of tools, 5 years. And I don't say it with something completely unthinkable. My own son actually does this for a foreign company. Now the scenario is, it is possible to do it in that shorter time. Thereafter, of course, you make the prototype, then you get into the certification, and then you get into proper, flying and those kind of thing. So unless there is that kind of a specific funding at a low cost, the same low cost funding becomes extremely important for export. Only place when we go out and want to export, you find Chinese actually giving a far better credit terms, which our EXIM doesn't even understand. In India, the only funding body is EXIM, and EXIM believes that there is a commercial rate of what they will borrow at, and then you hedge that, and then it becomes 8.5–9%, which is as good as Indian funding. So it doesn't actually help. So some of these points, what Tyagiji said, I think is far-reaching and probably needs to be seriously considered to be put up to the government, and that probably will create enormous amount of not just the fund, but things undone till today. There are a lot of areas which certainly need strengthening. We need to put more focus on that. But a completely new thing which we probably can do far better. Civil aircraft without an aviation and engine is a khoka. We are only doing aerostructure then. So some of those possibly genuinely
That is right.
great things.
Sir, could I elaborate further?
Sure.
As far as the money in the country today is concerned, sir, you are absolutely right. Last few years, in fact, we have been asking government to reconsider their policy. Today, people don't keep money in the banks. As a result, the banks don't have any money which they lend to the people. The money is in the share market. And just last week, I was reading that today mutual fund industry is sitting at the fronts of 1,70,000 crore, which they do not know where to invest. They are under pressure to invest the ideal money. And on the other side, I am talking to my friends in REC, PFC, etc. They are flush with the money. There are people who are coming, 3–4% ke le lo, but there is a surety for next 15–20 years, they are happy with it. So I think, sir, this is one financial instrument which can be very nicely created, and there will be a lot of funding available to the defense industry. As far as the civil aircraft thing is concerned, Jadhav sir, it was 2013. We made a presentation to the Prime Minister. We were there, CSIM were there, and our friends from Hyderabad was there. And at that time, Mr. Jayant Chaudhary was the Civil Aviation Minister. So when we were presenting, he made a counter view. He said, "Arey, क्या करना है? अभी तो सब लोग establish हो गए हैं, Airbus हो गया, Boeing हो गया, all that हो गया." So we presented to the Prime Minister. We said, "Sir, Honorable Minister is absolutely right. बहुत कुछ हो गया है." The history is repeating. The same moment came before the Prime Minister in the year 1969, when the proposal of formation of ISRO was presented. And some dynamic minister that time also made a statement that, "Sir, America has already landed on the moon. तो अभी क्या करना है? They are so ahead, हम ISRO बना के क्या करेंगे?" But luckily for us, our Prime Minister overruled and he said, "No, ISRO will be formed." And today we know what is happening. Same way, in fact, Jadhav Prime Minister gave a decision at that time that it will be NAL and HAL who will be making a joint venture together, as well as, in fact, the equity participation of some 10 lakhs each was also decided. But unfortunately, later on, I think in scientific leadership, there were some more opinions. But I am sure that today, if we again represent it to the government with a vigor, and you remember the Prime Minister when he inaugurated the C295 factory in Baroda, his statement, he said, "Now we have made a beginning of entering in the civil aviation market." So with this, we will enter in civil aviation market. So we have to just remind, sir, it was your order, and we have to fund the fund. And maybe, sir, we are lucky this time.
I will,
The money is not the issue. Money has never been the issue. As he says, going on for the last 10 years, and ID has been piloting it for the last 5 years. It's a government policy. The government has to, like you said, in the case of ISRO in 1969 or whatever, the government made a policy that we are going for this. So this is not coming true for whatever reason. I mean, we've gone to the cabinet secretary, we've gone to the PMO, we have gone to the civil aviation minister, so scientific advisor to Prime Minister, the former Dr. Jadhav, he also pushed it in the PMO, but it didn't come through. So money is not the issue here. The issue is that the government has to make up its mind. I mean, if I put it like that India should indigenously go develop civilian aircraft. And the market is huge, as you pointed out. So billions of dollars can be saved. We go on purchasing from outside. We are just bleeding, if I put it like that. We are bleeding our own money buying this civilian aircraft. And the demands are going to rise very fast. The number of passengers, domestic passengers traveling within India, rising dramatically. Like no other country has seen this kind of passenger travel growth. So anyway, we'll keep pushing it and let's see. Someday it will come true.
I will just give some small update in civil aircraft because though there was INE put lot of efforts, and further to that we have went to finance ministry because we are asked us, the PMO has asked us to go to finance ministry, and I presented everything, and finance ministry has told to put up a proposal which has also put up, and there is a letter to the NAL that please go ahead, in principle approval of some 7,000 crore to develop 90-seater of thing is given by finance ministry, and NAL has to put up a PDP proposal, and that has also been put up now, but because of the change of guards and all that thing, the proposal is in the consideration, but hopefully it will get through fast, because there was a proper decision from the finance ministry, none other than Secretary Expenditure, that all has been evaluated and in principle approval for taking up the project at 7,000 crore is given. So I think the matter is not far off. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Because it will be of interest and thinking gap for Dr. Jha. Similar to this, National Strategic Material Policy was conceived when Manohar Parrikarji was the Raksha Mantri, Baldevraj was the chairman, I was the secretary. We worked for 2 years, brought to some shape, and it has gone a number of times. Approval of Raksha Mantri happened, all the strategic departments cleared it, and then it went to Finance Ministry, there it got approval. Then it struck at CCS. Yes. So we have done a lot of things are happening, the investments to the tune of 10,000, everything. Finance Ministry clearance, upon CCS note prepared, our interministerial consultations completed, everything happened. Finally, it is not taking the shape. Last 6 years, I have been running. Unfortunately, Baldevraj Sahab expired, but I am the so-called chairman, the secretary of the policy. We have to have some thought process which has to bring in a scientific temperament, has to be brought in into the government itself, the think tank of the government, the policy makers, the leadership, the political leadership. How to bring in that is the thing we should do, so that these type of policies which we are bringing in, maybe a mineral policy, maybe the material policy, maybe the aircraft policy and all, that can be used as a science diplomacy in the international market. So I have this, you give me this at this cost, it's a win-win situation. Unless we are having some bargaining capacity, we cannot operate with the international players. I have been working in an Israeli joint venture. Unless you get into a leadership role or a one-upmanship role, things are not happening. I am 2016, today 8 years, and all approvals are there, but the thing is not coming.
Okay, I think
I will answer Joshi as Dr. Joshi has made a very emotional point here, and a lot of effort we have kept in that direction. And we are quite hopeful that we have proposed for 50,000 ton open die forging press and also 20,000 ton isothermal forging press. That would have been the basic infrastructure for giving the flip to our aerospace industry, not only military and the civil aircraft also. We wanted to have that type of facility and a lot of work. In fact, we have made a DPR also, and we are supposed to get the funding through the Sukhoi Aero Engineering International Program. In that process, it was started, but again it was removed from that, and now it is going that we are doing the direction. So, okay, thanks. I'll just finish and I can give it to you since I have started. Yeah. Because time is getting short now. Just I will talk about, we had a very mixed type presentation in my session, and when we are discussing about, I try to talk about our Adani Aerospace when they have discussed about how they have made certain platform and they have found certain difficulties, and in the same session we have seen that one of our speakers has told that we have a lot of technology for making the composites also. So it is only that we are not able to interact, industry has to interact with the R&D and anything informations are available, but we are not able to interact there. So if it is there, many things we can get within the country only. Another part was that certain R&D fundings were required for Bharat Force. They have seen their constraints in developing certain requirements. So definitely the R&D funding is the one area which has been rightly told by Dr. Joshi that we should try to spend some amount of R&D from our turnover or profit, whatever you say. And that in fact, when another presentation was done by Bell has shown that 50% of their manpower they are putting in the R&D itself. So R&D must be fetching the revenue, that's why they must be putting, otherwise without revenue fetching they cannot put the R&D funding or R&D expenditure. So this shows that R&D is required definitely to increase your revenue, and I think that area also industry should also think. But certain programs where the government requirements are there, the initial development, where failure rates are there, failure can be almost, the success rate is very less. There we need the certain support from the government agency, and as Dr. Joshi has rightly told, many laboratories like DRDL and DMRL and all, they are supporting for that type of activities. In fact, you see in marine technology which we get from our DRDO and other labs, the cost of technology is very less. In fact, the technology is already given almost, we can say, free when we compare to the TOT coming from the outside. So that also should be considered. That is a very good option given to the industry. Another point was there from Godrej has put a very apt point, that is for the summer, and of course some work is going in that direction. And also that AF QMS. And AF QMS is very apt for the industry, and it is basically based on whatever we are learning from the foreign OEMs when they are coming. Today we are also seeing that many OEMs, they are trying to certify our organization, but same if the Midhani has to make a new alloy for any new platform and similar alloy for a new platform, again we have to go for type certification. So type certification in our system is repetitive in nature. That we should get a sunrise if the materials can be identified as sunrise for one application. Probably certain small additional test with that we can do other application also. But many places we have the repetition, and that can be in fact many alloys which we are using in the space from the last so many years. Again, if you want to make that alloy for any new platform, we have to go for type certification. Like now we have, suppose I have to make the alloy for the Sukhoi, it has to go for type certification again, and then that type of problem is that industry is facing there. Coating given by that lot of work done by the R&D, so the strength of the R&D has been demonstrated. So if you are able to, R&D can be, it is not, we are not able to market our product in the R&D. If that type of marketing is there, I think industry will get benefited, because the type of work he has shown there, and their industry can support to some extent and get the output from this project. So a lot of good work we have shown in the as coating is concerned. and electronic warfare, the system which was shown by the Bell, and when they have shown about the miniaturization or certain things are obsolescence, and then we are still depending on that type of part which is not available. I think in that direction, it should be our, we should try to change our system and go for the modernization wherever we find it is possible. Running with the age-old system definitely will have a problem. We are also facing similar problem. If my testing equipment is very old and I want to get the spare parts, it is not possible to get unless you have the in-house capability and all can run like that. So it may be faced by the many equipments, and that requires the modification and then the certification accordingly. So finally, I would like to mention here that in total the work which we have shown here, in fact, the testing and the infrastructure and of course the funding for R&D and summer and AFQS has been shown here. Industry 4 was told by Bell. In fact, there is a directive from in my ministry that all the defense 16 PSU now the government wants to should have the Industry 4 system. So there is a mission by the Ministry of Defense that we should convert all our equipment on the machine Industry 4. That work is we have started. Many equipments are running in that, but we have to do further on that direction. One area was shown here in the entire discussion, other than this topic, that raw material is the one part which is have the difficulty in getting. And from Minhani, one presentation was there when it was shown that we have thousands plus grades are available. So suppose somebody has made 1,000 grades, I think 1,001 development will not be difficult. So it is possible to make any alloy, any composition in our country. It is only thing that industry if they can approach, it is possible. And today our conversion time and all very less. In fact, whatever supply chain we are able to maintain in India because of our business capability is very good, because if you see the foreign OEMs, today they are suffering a lot because the materials they are not getting in the time slot which they are really require. And for that there are many platforms are getting delayed. In fact, many aerospace companies they are struggling for raw material from their approved source. So if we are in India, it is there, whatever we have done the development, and thanks to DRDO, ISRO, Atomic Energy, they have with their support now the lot of materials technology is available. What we need certain addition of certain infrastructure, those things we have to require. But technology is available for the materials, and if we can adopt, we can go for aero engine also, it is possible. Today, in fact, for GE Aero, also we are supplying certain grades to GE Aero, they are using our material. So Rolls-Royce also is using our material. So that type of development is there. So our capability is good, and as it was told by Minhani, director, that earlier we thought that material coming from the abroad is better. So that philosophy has been changed now. Already we have a lot of users in our DRDO family, and of course in the PSU like HAL, BDL and all. So we have the good fact and ISRO. So I think with this note, I think I will close my.
Thank you very much, Zasa. I think we have come to the end of this session. Yeah, please.
Sir, I'll just take 1 minute and 2 ideas. हमारे आर्ट और लिविंग में गुरुदेव बोलते हैं कि हर चीज का एक समय होता है. People like me, Mr. Jadhav, Mr. Joshi, we all have been making efforts last so many years and trying to fructify the plans of civil aircraft. अभी तक नहीं हो पा रही है. But then we are the people who know कि कहाँ पे failures आती हैं, क्या होता है. But now luckily for us, we have people like say Mr. Jadhav, who not only has a technical expertise, he is also a lucky man. When he went to NAL, मुझे ध्यान है उस टाइम NAL में even salary के भी पैसे ये CSIR वाले लिए थे. He convinced people, and NAL they got a lot of good projects. Similarly, ADA now excellent. And now our president designate Superdip. I remember, sir, जब आपने SIDM शुरू किया, उस टाइम डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री कितनी बुरी हालत में होती थी. But you brought not only expertise but luck also, and SIDM today is a force to reckon with. In fact, I am one of the jury members who decides the awards every year. And I tell you, sir, every year I am mesmerized that so many youngsters with so many ideas and so many products have come up in just last few years. So I am sure एक बार आप इसको RDA को INAE से एक बार और थोड़ा revitalize वे में लीजिए. We will definitely succeed. And second thing is, देखिए हम डिफेंस में काम करते हैं इंडिया को डिफेंड करने के लिए, the technologies. My worry today is that Indian Air Force, which is allowed 42 fighter squadrons, today have a severe shortage. By the coming 2030, they will have some 32 squadrons, and 2032 they will be left with just 27 squadrons. Are we really fulfilling their need? The answer today is no. Jadhav, with all regards to our people in the fraternity, Mark II, the engine agreement 414, was my first task as chairman at chair. That was in April 2012, even without understanding what really Aeronautical will be. 12 years, but still we are not able to give any adequate funding to ADA. आप लोग 3 साल तक CCS बोर्ड ले जाते हैं, फिर आपको 700 करोड़ की सैंक्शन मिलती है, 800 करोड़ की मिलती है. If this is the way of funding, I think all these projects will have time and cost overruns. It is a time, sir, you synergize with Indian Air Force, and I think new Air Chief, he should be really talking to the government that if you want us to be in the serious business of defense of the country, then for God's sake on these developmental projects, kindly release the funds. It's a requirement in the interest of the country. Thank you, sir.
Point. So I must thank Dr. Tyagi for the excellent session and interactions and highly prospective recommendations, I can say, which we have to take, and I will see that INE we can make a proper paper and take all the recommendations which you have told and take it to the government. I also thank Mr. Mishra ji for a very good session and good recommendations which we take out of it, and also Jadhav for spending time over here, and I think his session was very, very impressive because it went into the technology session. So what Patil Saab told me is, let's have a beginning sessions on systems. So we have designed the thing in like this: one marine session, marine systems, one is airborne systems, and one is ground systems. And after that, he told 4th session should be more technical. So I think that session went very well. There were good presentations. Thank you very much, and thanks. Thank you all audience to have a wonderful discussion today at you, and lot of good things has come, and we will take it forward. Thank you very much.